Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are my favorite video games of all time, and I mean that legitimately. They are my top 2 favorite video games of all time, and I've played a lot of video games. I will always remember playing these games non-stop as a kid, and eventually 100%ing both of them. And I even bought that really bad port of the 3D Mario games on Switch just so I could play Galaxy everywhere I went. These were some very powerful games, man. However, all my life I've wanted nothing more than Mario Galaxy 3. It seems like a no-brainer since Galaxy 1 and 2 were very successful financially and especially critically. And there's just endless possibilities and ideas for a Galaxy 3. Imagine all the new boss fights, the characters, the galaxies. I remember being cocky enough to think that this would be the game to save the Wii U, which never happened. However, it's been 14 years since Galaxy 2, almost 3 whole console generations, and there's been no Galaxy 3. Just for comparison, the time gap between Mario 64 and Galaxy 2 is equal to, if not shorter, than the time gap between Galaxy 2 and present day, 2024. It's safe to say it's over. Galaxy 3 is never gonna happen, most likely, and there's many reasons why it just never did happen. But why? Why can't we get Galaxy 3? Why can't we get what could be the greatest video game of all time? Why will Galaxy 3 never happen? Well, I was bored one day and I came up with 3 potential reasons. It's worth noting that these reasons vary in credibility, so I'm gonna start blabbering about random shit at the end that doesn't even add up, so stay tuned and let's get into it. Now, my first reason is probably the most credible reason, and it's the fact that Galaxy 3 was just never going to happen in the first place. It had no possibility of even happening at all, and probably will never happen. Why do I say this? Well, let's look at Galaxy 2's history. As many of you already know, Galaxy 2 was never going to happen. Originally, Nintendo wanted to make Galaxy the first Nintendo game ever to have DLC, and it would have released on WiiWare as Super Mario Galaxy More. This name is even still present on Galaxy 2's disc ID. This DLC never happened because the team came up with too many ideas to the point they could make a whole game out of it. And also because WiiWare just kind of sucked, to be honest. I mean, it couldn't even run Sonic 4, what the hell? This really just means that Galaxy 2 happened out of spite. You can see this with the game's cookie-cutter story, and even at some of its characters. I mean, yeah, I do think Hubba is better than Rosalina, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. With all that said, Galaxy 3 would absolutely be impossible to have. It's clear Nintendo doesn't even like giving their 3D games direct sequels, 3D World being a very rare exception, and even that is more or less just a name spin to 3D Land, with no real similarities, and they would rather expand on making fresh new ideas instead. But Galaxy 2 only happened because the stars aligned. Their WiiWare DLC wasn't gonna happen, it wasn't possible, so why not take that opportunity to sell like crazy? Bundle all those fantastic ideas and build off Galaxy's flawless base and even more, only sacrificing the story. That's a great deal. Unfortunately, a miracle like this can't be done twice, giving the reason as to why Mario Galaxy 3 will never happen. Now on to reason 2. This is where my reasons start to get loony. Everything from here is just blind fun speculation at best. Now, my second reason as to why Galaxy 3 hasn't happened is because I actually think that Galaxy 3, although it wasn't ever set to release, was actually an upcoming project for Nintendo until they scrapped it and transformed its concepts into Mario Odyssey. Now, what makes me say this? Well, if you remember that small frame between like 2013 to 2015, you'd remember Miyamoto, when he announced Pikmin 4, he also said that Mario Galaxy 3 was still a possibility. It still could happen, but it probably wouldn't happen until the next console generation after the Wii U, being the Switch. Many people took this as like confirmation that Galaxy 3 was happening, even though it wasn't. And that's why many people thought that Galaxy 3 would be on the Switch, until that game would end up being Mario Odyssey. Now, I think Odyssey took a lot of scrapped elements from a potential scrapped Galaxy 3. Some of the levels, some of the boss fights look like they definitely could have came from a Galaxy game. You even have like a starship, which is straight out of Galaxy. This is definitely the Mario game that's most like the Galaxy games. You go to space and shit. I mean, what do I have to add to that? You know what I mean? But as I said before, unfortunately, this is just a very unrealistic reason, as if we go back to what Miyamoto said, he was pretty much just saying Galaxy 3 was possible. He never made any promises or even gave us an update since then, and that was a decade ago. though, so I definitely wouldn't hold my bets on this, but the idea that Odyssey has remnants of an early Galaxy 3 build is such a cool concept, and definitely one worth sharing. Now on to reason 3. What you're about to hear is technically complete bullshit and fluff, but it's also something I somehow believed as a kid and I really wanted to share. It's the whole reason I kind of made this video, honestly. It's an idea that's been in the back of my mind for over 10 years, even if it's a really bad one. I used to believe that Galaxy 3 was planned and was in active development for the Wii U until Nintendo started to lose so much money from the Wii U and Year of Luigi that they just quickly canceled the project entirely, and in compensation they developed a much smaller scaled simple 3D Mario game for the system, borrowing a couple assets from Galaxy 3. That would be Mario 3D World. Because I remember thinking how weird it was that the Wii U was the only big Nintendo console to have such a small scale 3D Mario game. The N64 had Mario 64, which revolutionized the 3D market. The GameCube had Sunshine, which may have been buggy, but it was a huge title with vast environments, cool mechanics, a pretty big story for a Mario game. And then the Wii had the 2 Galaxy games, which speak for themselves. And then the Switch brought Odyssey, which is the biggest Mario game ever. In comparison, 3D World is a far shorter and linear game that's also made to be a successor to an early 3DS game. But even with all that said, I still think this reason's complete bullshit. I don't think it's possible for a game like 3D World to have been made in just a year off nothing but scrapped remnants of a hypothetical Galaxy 3, especially when it took Nintendo 5 years to make something as small as New Super Mario Bros. U. So, no, I don't actually think that Galaxy 3 was canceled last minute due to Nintendo losing $500 million. And there you have it, 3 reasons why Galaxy 3 not only never happened, but maybe never will happen. Overall, I'd say my first reason is pretty solid, and is definitely the safe pick, as Galaxy 3 probably wasn't really seriously considered at all, aside from that one Miyamoto statement in like 2014. But even so, since Galaxy was just such a critical and financial success for Nintendo, there's a chance that they did actually have ideas for a Galaxy 3, but not enough to warrant for a full game. So they just picked out a few ideas that they came up with and brought it over to Odyssey, which is probably the closest we will ever get to a Galaxy 3, honestly. And you know what? All of this does actually genuinely pain my heart, as Galaxy 3 is the game I've wanted since I was a little kid.
Hey guys, what is up? The new series came in with the old. This is an old game I used to play.
And now I just turned 20 years old, so letting go of this false hope all these years later does genuinely sting. But hey, Galaxy or not, the Mario series is responsible for some of the greatest games we've ever seen. So I look forward to whatever idea Nintendo comes up with next.
New Mario game! I want Super Mario 4!